And welcome to this week's episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Danielle, CEO of the experience agency D Flash. Each week, I bring a different business leader, entrepreneur, and genuinely awesome person who's doing some game-changing work. And this week's episode is no different. I'm so excited to have Danielle Wiley, who's CEO of Sway. And we're going to talk about her company, her journey to get there, and how they're all navigating during this really unusual time during the coronavirus lockdown where we're all stuck at home. It'll be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Danielle.
Hi there.
How's it going?
It's going.
Same, and same. Well, even though we are trapped inside, the podcast doesn't change. The questions still remain the same.
Great.
Danielle, what was your first job?
Well, I was wondering if I should talk about my actual first job, which was filling the salad bar at Wendy's.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Amazing, right? But my first full-time job out of college, I worked for a really quirky literary PR firm in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And it was run out of the basement of this woman's home. And she was agoraphobic. So she did not like leaving her home, and she did not like us leaving her home either. So we were not allowed to leave for lunch. She had a cook who would make us lunch that we had to eat exactly the way she liked it. Like if we had burgers, we had to have them super rare with raw onions because that's how she liked her burgers.
Oh my God. Was this like some horror movie?
It was crazy. And everyone smoked inside. And again, it was in the basement of this really funky Victorian home in Brooklyn. It was, I didn't, understandably, I didn't last very long, but it was a very kooky, first job out of college experience.
That sounds terrifying. The rare burger with raw onions sounds like the stuff of something out of a Jordan Peele horror flick.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know you learned how not to treat people.
Right? Exactly.
And here's how not to run a business. So there was a nugget of a lesson that was learned out of there. Okay, so after that traumatizing experience, how did you navigate your career to becoming the CEO of Sway?
Well, everything. So that job was literary PR, but actually the book I was working on during my short tenure there was called and this was the mid-90s. It was called The Women's Guide to Online Services.
Lord have mercy.
I mean, back then it wasn't, you didn't just log on. Like we had modems and you had to choose between AOL or CompuServe or Prodigy, and everything were different. I mean, it was all so different than it is now, but working on that book gave me the chance to learn a lot more about just kind of the world of the web, and my jobs that I had kind of evolved. And I always kept one foot in interactive, but really did everything from information architecture to copywriting to account management. And then by the mid 2000s, when social media started becoming a thing, I started my own blog and just got completely fascinated by social media, which wasn't even called social media then. We were calling it Web 2.0. But just got completely fascinated by it and started talking to my clients about it and incorporating it into what I was doing at work. Ended up at Edelman PR, which obviously is a huge global PR firm running digital strategy in their Chicago office. And as influencer became more and more of a thing, I realized it was becoming messier and messier. And there was really the need for someone to create an agency that helped kind of streamline the whole process and professionalize it and make sure that this whole new this whole new medium of influencer marketing was done the right way. And so that's where Sway came from. It was me seeing a hole in the marketplace and realizing if I didn't jump in and fix it myself, I would regret it.
as most awesome female entrepreneurs, you're like, I'm just going to fix this. So, because like,
Make this work.
just let's just do this. And so, obviously the road to becoming an entrepreneur, making that leap isn't an easy one. What was the thing that you were like, I need to make this right now? And did you have a plan? Did you like sit for a year? Like, what was the thing that you like, okay, I'm doing this now?
I mean, I had the idea for probably close to 2 years. I talked to a few very select people about it. I just kind of let it marinate in my head for a while. And then a few things happened. So my husband got another job that gave us just the little bit of financial freedom we needed that would allow me to take kind of an uncertain leap. And then I had no business plan. I've told this story before. Like, I jotted down some numbers on the back of a receipt that was sitting on my night table. And so I figured out if I could get 10 influencers. So back then I had this idea that they would be exclusive with me and I would kind of run the agency like a talent agency.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the model we have now. It's a pretty lousy business model, in my opinion. But back then that's how it was. So I did some like back of the receipt math that if I could get 10 influencers to sign with me exclusively, that would be enough to make this financially viable.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought someone on. I made a list of 25 people who I wanted to work with. And there was a conference, a blogger conference taking place. And so I felt like I couldn't reach out directly because it would be a conflict of interest given my current job. So I brought someone on and I armed her with a bunch of letters of intent and NDAs. And I sent her to this conference to talk to these 25 people about what I was doing and to get them to sign this letter of intent if they were interested. And so I told myself, okay, if I can get 10 of these 25 to say yes, I'm going to quit my job. And she got all 25 to sign it. And I quit my job.
Wow. See, these are the things that make me so happy because I think sometimes we forget how awesome and powerful we are. And then something happens like, oh, of course we can do this. Because look, everyone was just waiting for us to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think just it's human nature to be like, no one will buy into this. They don't believe in me. Like, this is a crazy idea. And no one hesitated. And so it was a really great moment.
And so you guys started, and then where are you guys today? What's going to be what's happening now? Because obviously it's a little bit weird. The influencer marketing is gone a little bit sideways because now everyone's home.
Yeah. So
how's that pivot been?
We've been doing it for 9 years now. So we launched with those 25 bloggers. We now have 30,000 influencers, all are authenticated in our network. And we've been pretty lucky with the current crisis because the vast majority of our clients, we never really, I mean, we've done quite a bit of travel work, certainly. And there are some clients who have had more of an impact, but for the most part, we work with everyday household items. So diapers, tampons, yogurt, stuff that people need no matter what is going on in the world. So we've been really lucky and have been able to keep our influencers going and keep sending them money and doing programs. And we've had to make a lot of adjustments to our campaigns just to kind of acknowledge the new reality.
Right.
But things are going okay. We feel really, really lucky.
Awesome. And it's great to hear that you guys are doing okay in spite of it. I think there's been a lot of like celebrity backlash with regard to them being remarkably tone deaf in this current climate. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of articles saying, well, influencer marketing is dead. And my response is, it's not dead. It just needs to change.
There's been a bubble building
for a while, right?
I think there was 1,000 agencies and platforms launched last year. Don't quote me on that number, but a stupid number of agencies launched in the past year. But like I said, we've been doing this for 9 years. We have a really great process. We have a really amazing network of influencers. We have a terrific team. So from our perspective, if some of these folks who popped up just because they saw, the promise of making lots of money and this is a real sexy industry and why not try our hand at it? Like if that bubble pops a little bit, I personally wouldn't mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we've been doing influencer marketing for our agency for about 7, 8 years. It's just an endemic for all the events that we've done over the years. And, we'd always been ascribed to the fact that the middle of the sector is what you want to go through because that will be the sector that will be okay no matter what happens. That, the flat tummy tea people of the world and the people who are just trying to make a buck will eventually fall by the wayside. And the folks who are in that sort of power middle, who are good at what they do, who speak authentically and have a unique point of view, will roll the day whenever this bubble pops. I don't think anyone would have ever imagined that the bubble would be a global pandemic, but
Right.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Right.
And it's interesting because I know I've seen a million and one different influencer platforms over the last, 7, 8, 9 years. And you all were able to survive. How did you all separate yourselves from all the 11 million others that were out there and keep growing and building along the way?
Yeah. I mean, we're more of a full service agency than a platform. We use technology to help power what we do. But throughout everything, quality has always been super, super important to us. And like I mentioned, we started off with exclusive relationships with influencers. We left that model behind because we felt that it didn't allow us to do the quality of work that we wanted to do. And our first priority is to make sure that the content that is created for our clients is absolutely amazing, is exceeding their KPIs that they set forth at the beginning of the campaign, and that they come back to us and hire us for more programs using even more of the influencers in our network. And so I think that's what's kept us going. I mean, our technology that we use has shifted over the years. We've added platforms. We've said goodbye to platforms like Google Plus, obviously, is not a thing anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's
Right.
taking me back. Wow.
I mean, so I think, we are very, very focused. I have two amazing partners, one of whom runs the whole influencer side of things. So we make sure to always provide lots of great education and support and resources to the influencers in our network, which I think is really important. And then my other partner is kind of the queen of process and making things happen and keeping everything organized. So we just are heads down and keeping things going in a professional way and in a high quality way. And, even if we have clients who get seduced occasionally by the bright, shiny new objects who have, kind of popped up in this bubble environment, most of them come back because we're consistent. We do great work. We have an amazing team. I think, no matter what, that's the most important thing.
Awesome. And it's interesting because, I think every day is another new influencer marketing platform. There's a new social media platform you're supposed to be a part of, and helping brands figure out, well, here's what would make sense for you. And then here's the right kind of influencer for you for this to actually work. Like that level of curation and strategy is key to being successful at this particular juncture. Otherwise, you're going to fall pretty hard.
Yeah, we work really hard to figure out, okay, which influencers are the best fit, which platforms make the most sense, what is the best timing for this, what content strategy is going to generate the most engaging content. There's a lot of work that goes into the pre-planning before a campaign ever kind of sees the light of day.
Awesome. So, a question for you: what are your thoughts on influencers on TikTok?
we love, I mean, we're all kind of obsessed with it personally and have lost a lot of time.
Have you gone down a few rabbit holes?
Well, and I have an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old at home, so
Oh boy.
they love kind of, like, oh, this is the new one that you have to be in with me, and like, okay.
Hmm. How many dance videos have you done, Danielle?
Like 3 or 4. I'm so bad. I'm so bad at it. But yeah, we've already integrated it into our dashboard, and so we're encouraging the influencers in our network to build it as much as they want to build it. And we have clients who are very interested in using TikTok. We have influencers who are doing a great job on it. We're kind of yearning for the day when the API is open so we can make the back end work of using TikTok a little less manual.
Right.
Right now, we can have people sign up in our dashboard and indicate that they have a TikTok account and what their following is. But unlike the other platforms, we're not able to like automatically pull in some of that data just because of the terms and conditions of
Right.
service. It'll come.
It'll come.
Yeah, Snapchat was the same way for a while, so it's all good. But we're excited about it. It's a really, really fun way for brands to kind of have a presence online.
Yeah, I was listening to a talk about it a couple of nights ago, and it was fascinating because I'm sort of toe dipping into it and watching some of the viral successes of who's coming through, and it's fascinating to see that one, not only is it fun and short, it's like the idea that like there is like a stratification of our social media platforms. Like there is the stuff that's on a timed window, like TikTok and Snapchat. And then the stuff that's like real long form, like your Facebook and your LinkedIn's and your Pinterest of the day. And then you have Instagram, who's sort of in the middle. Because on the one hand, they are obviously short because you can do Insta stories, but they can also do long because obviously you can just do a standard post. And it's interesting to see how these all shake out as we navigate this new future for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And and then just which demographic you want to hit. We've seen a lot of success with Instagram and using IGTV. And then because now that you can put the snippet from that in the feed,
right,
you just get so many amazing, it's just performs really, really well. I think Instagram's been really smart about how they've grown, and it works really well for clients. And we love the save feature, especially working with food clients who will have influencers create and share recipes. That ability to save and us to be able to grab the metrics of how many saves that piece of content got is super valuable for our clients.
Yeah, because now you're like, oh wait, you got 10,000 saves off this one awesome recipe. Thank you. Yeah. This comes in super helpful. So, where do putting on your predictions hat, where do you think we're headed? In the land of influencer, as we embark on a very uncertain global path.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear to us, and certainly we're not the only ones seeing this and talking about it, but we're seeing this move back towards authenticity where, when I first got involved in the space, everything was very authentic. And then we kind of moved into this aspirational realm where everyone was just showcasing their perfect lives.
Oh God, yes.
And just because of what we're going through right now, there's this move back towards authenticity, and we're super excited about it because one, authentic content works really so much better than aspirational for bottom of funnel. And so, with direct to consumer obviously exploding, that ability to get people to click to buy is so important. And we find that the authentic content works much better than aspirational for that. So just from a pure, putting our marketing hats on, we're really excited about that move. And then putting on our personal consumer hats, I know myself and a lot of the folks on my team, we just are excited about the authentic content because we kind of like it more. We relate to it more, and it doesn't make us feel bad about our messy houses. And
yeah, I mean that's one of the things that's happening. It's like the amount of women who are friends of mine who I now know their natural hair color,
yeah,
or they're just gray. I'm like, okay, girl, cool.
yeah.
Let's be honest about it. I think there's always been that like the dichotomy of like, look how awesome my life is with all these Insta stories of like all the places I've traveled, and now it's like, well, here's me on the couch.
Yep.
in the same sweatpants I was wearing yesterday, and that's okay. So it's gonna be cool. I hope it sticks. That's my hope.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it'll never be the same as it is right now. I think when things get a little bit back to whatever normal will be, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm hoping at least some of it sticks because it's kind of nice to see who people really are.
So, living in the land of who people really are right now, what do you think you'd probably tell 25-year-old Danielle?
Whew. I probably would just tell her how, I mean, I don't want to sound like full of myself because I'm not, I'm no like Ellen DeGeneres, but
I'll just go for it, girl. Say it.
That I'm successful now and that
yes.
I never wanted to be a CEO. I never saw myself as one, probably because I never saw female CEOs growing up. So I think I'd want to tell 25-year-old me that I was doing it and I was doing it well and I loved doing it. I think it would give me a bit more confidence and more drive. And I don't know, like even if it were me seeing my future self, that was possible. I mean, seeing any woman doing it, I think is helpful for any young person.
Awesome. Well, it's part of the reason I always ask this question because sometimes, especially when I have female leaders on, they're like, oh, wait a minute. I remember I was doing I was 25 and now I'm a friggin' boss. Like, this is awesome. I am that bitch. It's good. And there isn't anything, and that's the thing. It's like, this is why we talk. This is why I asked the question, because I want you to be like, I am awesome. And I have done a whole bunch of awesome stuff. And looking back on it now, I would never have guessed, but there was a light in there somewhere. And that's how it got to be right there. Yeah. So that's fantastic.
Yep.
So you're obviously home. You've got teenagers and trying to navigate that universe and, obviously becoming a school teacher as well, on top of being a CEO. What are you doing for your self-care?
A few things. I mean, I certainly don't need to be cooking 3 meals a day for 4 people every day, but cooking is kind of my favorite way to decompress. So I am one of those people who's doing the whole sourdough thing. And
awesome.
I love it. Like, it's such a nice little routine and it's a challenge. And I've always been like someone who cooks dinner, but not really much of a baker. So I'm kind of proud of it.
Yeah.
And loving that. And I spent a lot of time in my kitchen and I put in my AirPods and I listen to podcasts and no one talks to me. And that's real self-care for me, is that alone time with myself, doing my own little kitchen projects, listening to my own thing.
That's awesome. And it's funny, like, I started asking this self-care question last year for the podcast, and I am floored by how this year, post-COVID, the amount of people who've become bread makers as their self-care, and men and women, which is a kind of neat little surprise, because obviously gender wise, I assume more women were doing it, but like I have now had 3 men on the show talk about how like they've been making French baguettes, and I'm like, what?
So that's hardcore.
I was like, serious. But the sourdough is like I more power to you. I can't do it. I was like, I don't have the patience.
Yeah, it's well, the good thing, it doesn't take a lot of hands-on time. The trickiest thing is like there's all these like little steps 30 minutes apart. So like timing my workout and my Zoom calls and my just like working everything around my sourdough schedule has it's a little bit tricky.
Yes, because before it was working, my schedule around the business. Now it's my sourdough schedule.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. That's awesome. Really cool to hear. Um, and so, lastly, I've been asking folks as part of the series of episodes that are being recorded during our lockdown, if you have a give and or an ask to the audience. So, Danielle, do you have a give or ask to the audience?
I mean, I don't know if this qualifies, but one of the things that we're doing at Sway is we're donating $5 for every influencer that we use on a program during this time. And some of our programs are upwards of 100 influencers, and we're kicking off multiple programs a week, so it's pretty big. But we're folding that into all of our programs and donating to. We have a group of 3 charities that are helping folks at this time. So that's I'm sure there are some in the audience who will benefit from that. Unfortunately, I think everyone's been really hit by this, but that's what we're really doing right now.
Awesome. What are the charities?
Save the Children, Good 360, and MedShare.
Awesome. So I'll throw all that in the show notes so folks can hopefully make a donation as well. Yeah,
that would be great. I'd love if people could kind of help supplement that. I think we made sure in choosing charities, we went to Charity Navigator and made sure that the majority of the money is going to those who need it and not to the administrators, that sort of thing. So these are organizations doing really good things.
Awesome. That's so good. And, like I said, I think everyone's sort of looking for ways to help. And oftentimes, it is actually just, sending some money because folks need it right now. So thanks so much for sharing it and for doing that campaign. That's fantastic. Danielle, you're such a delight, and we could talk about influencer marketing all day with you. Oh my goodness! But you have a wealth of great information and so lovely. And thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was wonderful.
Yeah. And so check out all the information in the show notes for the cool charities that Danielle's team is supporting. And if you can, spare a buck or two, that would be awesome as well. And that is our show.